are valid. Sometimes, like we have heard, there will be needs for triangulation of evidence from different sources, of course, to ensure that we achieve that validity requirements. We have documentation and traceability. All must be documented. And then we have a preservation of evidence integrity. Preservation of evidence integrity. You know, a whole lot of things that we have learned would actually disrupt the whole integrity process. And then we've had some of those cases, some were offered by Dr. Sophia yesterday, and from the legal aspect, from the legal dimension, we have heard from our retired AIG, we have heard a number of cases where there was some sort of interruption, you know, in the integrity of the evidence. So this is one of the principles that we have to also abide by. Now, let's talk about evidence handling and chain of custody of standard operating procedures. Now, it is expected of us as practitioners to use appropriate personal protective equipment, the PPE. Expected of us, you know, where we have to do that at the laboratory, you know, to engage in that, collect evidence using validated methods. We all know what we are doing in science, and the brain box of science is in the methodology. You know, we have to ensure that we collect evidence using validated methods. But sometimes we only talk about human subjectivity, like we have interest, blah, blah, blah. The Deputy Director of Prosecution this morning was making a reference to Evidence Act 2011 and the fact that, you know, she said expertise does not guarantee credibility. Expertise does not guarantee credibility. So that's just the fact that beyond us, it's not just about expertise. There are some other things that we need to put into consideration to ensure that we have a reliable, you know, we have a reliable outcome of our investigation. So we have to collect evidence using validated method. You know, we package evidence in tamper evidence container. You know, label all exhibits clearly and accurately. Maintain continuous chain of custody. Maintaining continuous chain of custody. And when you talk about chain of custody, it's talking about a documented process that tracks evidence handling from collection to disposal. You know, from collection to disposal. And then the last one in this chapter, talk about forensic analysis SOP. As it to conduct examination only within the analyst area of competence. We have to conduct examination only within our areas of competence. Now, forensic analysis is a very broad area of study, you know, that encompasses a whole lot of branches. So this is telling us the need for us to do only within the area of our expertise. Now, we use validated and calibrated equipment. Validated and calibrated equipment. Why is that important? For us, as researchers, some of us are researchers, we understand that science must be reproducible. So you must be able to tell us how that this was calibrated for any other person in case of the need for us to also go over again to validate what you have got. So all implements must be validated to ensure that it is reproducible and transferable, which is one of the core expectations of science. You know, also we need to also maintain laboratory cleanliness and contamination control. And lastly, document all analytical processes and book with us as counseling. So that is chapter 2 for us. Now we move quickly to the chapter 3 of the standard operating procedure of the Forensic Investigator Society of Nigeria. Chapter 3. Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate for us to go through. That's why I have to skip. It's quite much. I'm moving us. Okay, chapter 3 now. The chapter 3 talks about reporting and documentation. Reporting and documentation. Forensic reports shall, it says that forensic reports shall be clear, concise and objective, state methods used and the limitation of the study, avoid speculative conclusions, be signed and dated by the responsible examiner. So we have the courtroom presentation, we have under it quality assurance and control SOP, it contains the health, safety and security SOP, we have the professional conduct and ethics SOP under it. We have chapter 4 also, and then this chapter 4 talks about continuous professional development, and that is very necessary, it's very central to us. We've been told about the evolving nature of our practice, the science, especially in this part of the world. We still need to learn a whole lot of things, and that is telling us about the need for continuous training and retraining, ensuring that we are part of the process through that. It's also one of the ways of ensuring strengthening practice that was mentioned in terms of capacity building yesterday. And lastly, we have the chapter 5, talk about, the continuing professional, 4 talks about membership, compliance, and regulatory enforcement. So we do ourselves some good by laying hands on this, and I think we really want to appreciate